The purpose of the Global CFO Council is to provide an educational and networking forum for senior financial executives in order to share best practices, discuss current financial issues, and to learn about current topics related to the performance of their jobs.
Mark, good afternoon. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing better than you because we just spoke and you said 5 degrees is going to be the low tonight in the great state of Missouri. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. Definitely
God
cold
bless,
snap.
God bless you and your family. I'll be praying for you. I was born in Florida where I don't remember it getting below like 52, so I don't know how to handle 5 degrees, but I am glad that we get to talk, and let me introduce you. Mark Bussen is the CFO at Midwest Machinery Company. And Mark, I think you got your undergrad in Econ and Finance from Baylor University. Is that correct?
That is correct.
MBA from Washington University in St. Louis.
Yep, that's it.
Certified Management Accountant.
That is correct.
And something interesting that I think I know about you is you, like I think one of your first jobs out of college was at Monsanto, and you have some ESOP experience, an employee stock ownership plan, just like the company I work at, Lifecycle Engineering. Is that true?
That is very true. Yes.
Small world. I had never worked at an ESOP company. I don't know if you've worked at ESOP companies since, but it is a different bird as a senior financial executive. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And I have not worked at a company that had that since Monsanto, but it was an interesting time to have that at Monsanto because that's when Monsanto spun off its chemical division to form Solutia. So that was part of the challenge there, was figuring out how to split that ESOP up between the two companies. So that was fun.
Well, Mark, let's get into this.
Sure.
Question number one. What is your favorite business book and why?
All right, I'm going to give you two, if I could. And both of them were written many, many decades ago, but the ideas and principles still very relevant today. They're kind of timeless, and the concepts never really become outdated. So my first one is a book by Dale Carnegie, written in 1937, called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the premise behind the book really is that about 15% of your success in your chosen field or job is really related to your technical or professional knowledge. Really, 85% of your success is how well you relate to and deal with people. And so the book, to me, it's really kind of, how do you win the hearts and minds of the people that you're doing business with, whether that's your boss or colleagues you work with or customers or vendors and so forth. And so part of the premise of the book really is to understand that in dealing with people, humans tend to be creatures of emotion. They're not always dealing with you on a basis of logic or reason. So that's an important concept to understand. And this is kind of really a how-to book on how to deal with people and to take that into account. And by taking that into account, really at the outset of any situation where you're dealing with people, especially if it's working through a problem or a negotiation, is to understand, that people have their own prejudices and biases, and they're governed by certain emotions or self-interest. And if you recognize that up front and really put yourself and view the situation from their point of view and understand their rationale and what they're trying to get out of it first as a starting point, then you're much more likely to have a successful outcome and to build a successful relationship, with those people. So the book is, even though it was written more than 75 years ago, it's just chock full of sort of how-tos and relevant examples that, though written a long time ago, you recognize them as any problem in a business situation that you'd encounter today. So remarkable book. I mean, I read it 30 or 40 years ago, and I've reread it a couple of times since then, and it's one that's just stuck with me. So second book I would offer, perhaps a bit controversial, but was written in 1957 by Ayn Rand, called Atlas Shrugged. And it's really a novel, but I won't go into all the details of the book, but anybody that recognizes the story or knows anything about it or has even seen the movie recognizes that although it was written 60 years ago, it's pretty darn relevant to the world we're living in today. And just a couple of things that the book illustrates are the concept that individual freedom, a level playing field, and meritocracy are really concepts that produce the best outcomes and allow society to flourish the most versus any other system, and that humans, and their ability to think and reason and use their minds is what really creates wealth and value in society. And the idea that your ability to pursue your own self-interest, but then trade with others for mutual benefit, typically produces the best outcomes. And that's whether, that's starting a business and trading with people or consumers, or what your products or services are, or even trading your time and expertise with an employer for a paycheck. So, it's a book, again, I read 30 years ago, and I have since reread recently within the last few years. Long novel, but even if you think you might disagree with the premises of the book, I'd challenge anybody to read it and really think through the concepts. It's really a profound book that still continues to sell well, 60 plus years later. So those are my two books.
Oh, it's coming strong with a 2 for 2 great book recommendations. I would much more highly recommend the book than the movie for
Yes,
Atlas Shrugged.
for sure.
The movie,
You're familiar with it. Yes.
1 and 2 is terrible, and the book is brilliant. So read the book, and if you love the book, then you'll put up with the movie.
Yes.
And great job. Well, set the bar high, Mark. Let's move into question number 2. I got high expectations now. What is the best advice that you have ever received?
All right. So this is one that I've struggled with some myself, but I think is really critical, especially for somebody that's working maybe in a small to medium-sized business where you tend to wear many hats and have many responsibilities. But that is the idea that to really be successful, you need to learn how to delegate. And so, you have to recognize that, time is the most limited commodity that you have. And you've got to figure out, how to best orient your time and what to work on that best serves you and best serves your company. And recognize things you can't do everything. And that there's plenty of opportunities to delegate things so that you are directing your time to the things that are the most meaningful and fit with your talents the most closely. And so I think that's critical to being successful in business, especially as you get higher in the organization. And it's not only critical for yourself, but it's also critical, especially for people that tend to work in your group, that are younger than you, that you're mentoring, that are up and coming, to think about, what can I delegate to this person that, yeah, maybe I could do it more quickly myself, but it's really something that's also going to be beneficial to them and their professional growth and their development. So it helps you, and it certainly can help others in your organization too, and it's a win-win that way.
Mark, what about a tool that you have recently started using, or a habit that you've recently picked up that you have found beneficial?
So one tool that we recently implemented over the last 6 months or so here at Midwest Machinery is it's a cloud-based accounting system called Accounting Seed. And so the reason that we implemented it here is that for many years we have tracked opportunities and projects and bids and quotes to customers, as many companies have, using Salesforce as our CRM. And so what Accounting Seed does is it was developed to integrate directly with Salesforce CRM, so that now when we have a bid or a quote where we win the business and it becomes a project, we can now track that project in Salesforce like we always have, but we can directly issue invoices and sales orders and purchase orders and so forth in that project, and then they will then seamlessly flow into our accounting system, so thus populating our accounts receivable, payments due to vendors, and ultimately our financial statements. So it's really better enables us to track the projects, eliminates redundancy of having, two different systems to enter the information in, and provides a better tool really to analyze our performance financially on the projects and how we're doing in terms of profitability versus what we had estimated. And so, and there's a lot of, I think, really good tools in terms of developing dashboards and metrics, and just gives you better real-time information on how you're tracking on your various projects. So it was a very good tool for Midwest, especially how we do business. It's a bit expensive, but very, very much worth it.
Speaking of that current job, Mark, what is the best part of your current job?
So I would say, no question, the people that I work with here. So I've been here, about a year and a half. And, one of the things I noticed when I was interviewing with the company is people that join the company tend to stay with the company. There's a lot of longevity, and pretty quickly realized, the reason for that. Very ironclad group of people, very sharp, very knowledgeable, great to work with. And just as an example, we recently implemented this tool, this Accounting Seed tool that I was just talking about. And so we had a sort of an implementation team that made the project successful, brainstormed, worked through a lot of the issues quickly and professionally, and just a sharp group of people. The other thing I would say is the owners of the business have really been great to work with. They've given me a lot of latitude in terms of really defining the CFO role, and then changing and molding and shaping the position and the accounting function in general, kind of with the vision that I have. And that's really been an inspiration to look for best practices, how to make things more efficient, how to gain visibility on financials and metrics, and really just kind of how to improve the accounting function. So a lot of trust placed in me, and that's been great.
Well, I'm sure it's well earned. You seem like a super responsible guy. Ayn Rand would be proud. What is something personal that you wouldn't mind sharing about yourself with the rest of the CFO Council members?
Sure. My universe really kind of revolves around my family. I've been married for a little over 20 years. 2 wonderful children. I have a junior in high school, avid baseball player, great student. And then I have an 8th grader, recently turned 14, also a great student, avid basketball player. And so, they're just involved in a lot of different activities and sports and academics. And so really, they're the center of the universe for now. My son is just about to the point where we're really having to start thinking about colleges and what next steps are. So that's fun. I'm looking forward to that. Perhaps myself more than he is, but looking forward to that whole process. And so that's it. That's one personal thing I would share.
Mark, last question number 6. It happened so fast. What is something that I should have asked you that I didn't, and what is your answer to that?
Sure. So just thinking about my my answer to the last question a little bit. You know, I've got a son that's soon to be headed out into the world and perhaps going away to college. And then I think of young people that, you know, that we've hired recently, you know, and really, what advice do you give younger people, whether they're just leaving home to attend college or whether they're just starting out in the workforce? And, you know, more than anything there, I would say my advice would be learn the value of a strong work ethic and hard work. You know, nothing in this world worthy of achievement comes without significant work and significant effort. And nothing is handed to you on a silver platter. And I think it's so important to drive that lesson home for young people, because honestly, in some instances, that just seems to be lost on younger people. I mean, there is no such thing as entitlement, and you may have raw talent, but without coupling that with hard work, you're just not going to succeed, or you're not going to achieve the potential that you have. And so it's really the value of hard work and strong work ethic.
So true. And I think all of us, young and old, we see finished products too often. And we think that it went from zero to finished product really quickly for that person. But in reality, I bet if, you know, somebody got to sit down with Mark and, oh, Mark, I just assume you got to this fully functional, hardened, perfect senior financial executive overnight. And the real answer, I bet, is 1,000 mistakes and 1,000 hours of effort, and over time got better. And
yes,
so true. I have the same conversations with, I think, my kids and myself constantly, as I need to not judge myself against other people, but just maybe against myself yesterday. And did I get a little better today?
Absolutely. That is so true. Yes.
Well, Mark, I have loved this conversation. We are two kindred spirits. I'd say we got to have lunch someday, but I am not going to Missouri in the winter. So like whenever it gets like over 90, I might come up and we can break some bread. But this has been really fantastic and an honor to get to virtually meet you. So thank you for doing this.
Awesome. I appreciate the opportunity.
Have a great day.
All right. You too.